Tokyo, 2025. The city buzzes with news that Japan is exploring a strategic partnership with the BRICS Plus bloc. For over 70 years, Japan's foreign policy was anchored to the United States. Now, a seismic shift is underway, driven by necessity in a world that no longer plays by the old rules. In the Diet and on the streets, the question is clear: is this the end of an era? The older generation, raised under the American security umbrella, watches with unease. The idea of aligning with a bloc that includes China and Russia feels unnatural. But this pivot is not sudden, it's the result of years of frustration and anxiety. The seeds were planted during the Trump administration, when America's unpredictability forced Japan to confront its over-reliance on a single partner. Japan's leaders realized they needed a plan B. The government frames this move as diversification, not divorce. But the message is clear. Japan is reasserting its autonomy in a multipolar world. The nation that once tied its destiny to the West is now looking east, seeking new partnerships. This is more than a policy change, it's a generational and cultural shift. The Tokyo tremor is just the beginning. The world is watching as Japan redraws its place on the global stage. The stakes have never been higher. To grasp Japan's pivot, we must recall the depth of its U.S. alliance. Forged after World War II, the U.S. occupation reshaped Japan, embedding democracy and renouncing war. The alliance became the bedrock of Pacific stability, countering communism and anchoring U.S. power in Asia. U.S. bases in Japan provided security. In return, Japan focused on economic growth. The Yoshida Doctrine prioritized prosperity while outsourcing defense to America. This grand bargain fueled Japan's economic miracle and deepened economic ties. The US was Japan's top export market. Japanese investment created American jobs. Despite trade frictions, the alliance endured, seen as mutually beneficial and resilient. It was more than military or economic. It was institutional, with close coordination on diplomacy, intelligence, and culture. Generations of leaders built strong ties, weathering the Cold War and global crises. The alliance was a model of stability until recent years. Now, cracks have appeared, shaking the foundation of a once unbreakable bond. Japan faces a new reality. Alliances are not forever. The search for alternatives has begun. The US-Japan alliance relied on a shared commitment to a rules-based order. That changed with the America First doctrine. President Trump saw alliances as transactional, questioning the value of defending Japan. His rhetoric unsettled Tokyo, but the real shock came with tariffs on Japanese steel and aluminum. Japan, a treaty ally, was not exempted, an unprecedented move. The threat of auto tariffs loomed, endangering Japan's economic backbone. Even though disaster was averted, trust was damaged. Japanese leaders realized their economic security was at the mercy of US politics. The core assumption of permanent alignment was shattered. Overdependence on any single partner, even the US, was now seen as a risk. Japan's search for new partners became urgent. US tariffs hit Japan's steel industry hard, but the real fear was auto tariffs. Automakers warned of billions in losses and job cuts. Japanese firms, major investors in the US, felt betrayed. The business elite demanded action reduce exposure to US political risks. Prime Minister Abe's efforts to secure exemptions failed, highlighting Japan's diminished influence. Political anger grew, and a new consensus formed. Japan needed a more resilient economic strategy. The America First era exposed the dangers of relying on goodwill from Washington. Personal relationships weren't enough. Structural change was needed. This reckoning pushed Japan to seek new trade agreements and partners. The groundwork was laid for today's consideration of BRICS. Japan's pivot was now a matter of national survival. Japan responded to US unpredictability with a quiet strategic pivot. While keeping the US alliance, Japan built a web of new partnerships to diversify risk. After the US left the TPP, Japan led the creation of the CPTPP, a major free trade bloc. It finalized a massive trade deal with the EU, and drove the RCEP, including China and ASEAN. These deals gave Japan access to new markets and reduced dependence on America. Japan also deepened ties with Australia, India, and Southeast Asia, and reached out to the Middle East and Africa for energy security. This diplomatic surge was a coherent strategy for greater autonomy. Japan's network of friends gave it new strategic depth. The idea of partnering with BRICS, once unthinkable, became a logical next step. Japan was ready to play a bigger role on the global stage. To understand Japan's interest, look at what BRICS has become. Once just an investment term, BRICS is now a powerful political and economic bloc. Its 2024 expansion added energy giants like Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Iran, plus regional powers like Egypt and Argentina. BRICS Plus now represents a huge share of global population, GDP, and energy resources. For energy-dependent Japan, this is crucial. The bloc is building its own financial institutions and exploring trade in local currencies, reducing reliance on the US dollar. For Japan, the appeal is pragmatic economic security and access to fast-growing markets. A partnership would open new opportunities for Japanese investment and exports. Most critically, it would help secure stable, long-term energy supplies. In a world of geopolitical tension, direct ties to top energy producers are vital. Japan isn't embracing BRICS ideology, it's hedging for survival. The move signals a shift from Western dependence to a more balanced global strategy. Japan's interest in BRICS Plus is calculated and strategic. The world is watching as Japan weighs its next move. A Japan-BRICS Plus partnership would be a geopolitical earthquake. For the US, it's a wake-up call. America first has consequences, even for its closest allies. For China, it's a double-edged sword, a symbolic win, but also a more independent Japan to contend with. Japan would gain unprecedented strategic flexibility, balancing US security with BRICS economic and energy benefits. This marks a return to great power diplomacy for Japan. The risks are real, but so are the rewards. Japan's decision could accelerate the shift to a multipolar world, ending the era of US dominance. The global order is at a crossroads. Japan's choice will shape the 21st century. The world is watching Tokyo, waiting for the next tremor. The stakes are not just Japan's future, but the future of global power. Alliances are shifting, and nothing is certain. The next chapter in world history may begin in Tokyo,